Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, Raiders minicamp news to know, and players who I think could surprise some Raiders fans out there, and I'm hoping that they surprise Pete Carroll and John Spytek, because I think the more surprises we have just means that more competition is happening and more good things. If you do not know, I am Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report, and if you're looking for Raiders minicamp news all week, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on, because as soon as I get back from the wedding, I am all back locked in here to the silver and black. And as soon as I get back from my wedding week off, it's minicamp time. And I can't wait for minicamp because it's the real good football practices that you love to see. So we're going to go through here and just give you some of the minicamp news to know. For those that do not know, it is mandatory 3-day training, and it is from June 10th to June 12th. For those of you that also, you're going to start seeing some people report to the Raiders in Henderson for their physicals on June 9th. So the players have to be there June 9th for physicals. Once physicals are passed, practices the 10th, 11th, and the 12th. If you do not know, fines are permitted. And I always think it's kind of interesting, and I'll outline what these fines are. It's right now at the time that I'm recording this video. It's not really expected that anybody sits out. I think the top two people that would be concerned to sit out would be Colt Miller and Jacoby Myers, but they were at non-mandatory things, so I don't know why they would skip and get fined now. If you miss day one, that's what it charges you. 2, 3, if you miss all 3 days, it is a hefty bill of a little over 6 figures. Let's keep it moving here, though. It is not full contact, but helmets are worn, so just want to throw that out there. You're going to see these guys hit a little bit. You're going to see these guys get physical. The red jerseys mean you can't touch them. That's basically going to be the quarterbacks. The purpose, I think, though, of minicamp is you can finally get to see live offense and defense, and for a team that's going to just go out there and preach, again, you guys are probably sick and tired of me saying the word compete, but compete. Well, they finally get to go out there and they get to go up against each other. And you get a good 3-day look. And I think it just helps teams plan for the next 6 weeks before training camp gets going of what exactly they still feel like they need to be able to add to this roster. Because I do think that the Raiders make a few more moves before training camp. So coming up here, we're going to get into some players that I think could surprise this coaching staff and maybe surprise a few people around the nation. Before I give you some of the names to keep an eye on, though, who is an under-the-radar player that you think could surprise us? Like, when I thought of this question, when I thought of this segment, I'm not going to sit up here and say a Dante Thornton Jr., because Dante Thornton Jr., at this point, if he's surprising you, then you didn't pay attention in the month of May. And I'm not trying to be somebody who's just, I want people to hit that subscribe button. I want people to watch the Raiders Report, because I want you to want me to talk about the bottom of the roster guys, the people that nobody else is talking about. Because if you're watching this in June and if you're answering this question, personally, I think those are the players that you want to see. So my answer, after this YouTube ad break. That was a long-winded answer or a long-winded question, and I apologize for that. I'm going to sit up here, though, and say the player that I'm excited for the nation to get a little bit more information on is Thomas Harper. And I say that because he was not somebody that I really discussed a lot in my first initial 53-man roster projection. He also doesn't really, fit that bill of long, lanky, super athletic Pete Carroll guy. Was on the team last season, played pretty damn well, but they like his versatility at free safety. They like his versatility. Also, they've been using him a little bit in the nickel. When I did this show, I kind of did this show with the idea of I'm not going to talk about anybody that was in my 53-man roster projection video. If you didn't see my 53-man, go check it out. Harper is in that video. I'm going to put it for you down in the comments and down in the description of this video. So you can go just check it out. So the players coming up here are ones that I want you to take notice at on and at practice over the next, we'll say, 3 days here for the Raiders. First guy is going to be Laki Tasi, the International Pathway Program player, and he's a humongous human being who started out as a defensive tackle, but now they're using him at offensive guard. And I think that the Raiders, when they brought in Tasi, they were trying to make their own tush push. They were already planning for it. I don't care what anybody says. They were planning for the tush push to get banned. Laki Tasi is going to be fun to see where they put him because, again, he's a massive human being, and he's going to make this team on the practice squad because he can make the team. You can keep 17 when you keep the International Pathway Program player. Let's go to a wide receiver. It's Alex Bachman, and I can still remember last season when Bachman made this team. I couldn't believe that he, ended up making it. And he's kind of doing the exact same things that he did last year. He's a a veteran in a sense of a veteran mindset where he's always going to show up. He competes his freaking tail off, and he's looked good. Like, I actually have heard from a few people at the Raiders facility that he's made some clutch catches, that he's a good route runner. You know, he's got solid hands. And when you think about what Geno Smith likes, you know, those things align with what Alex Bachman is. Just the upside, it's not too high. Speaking of high, Collin Johnson, he's up there, 6'6", 222 pounds, and long, lanky receiver. He's going to catch some eyeballs because when you watch him, he's just clearly the biggest guy out there. Like, Dante Thornton Jr. is an alien. Collin Johnson is, imagine if Dante Thornton Jr. was a little bit taller, they're basically the same size and weight, but just doesn't have nearly the athletic ability. Johnson might get confused with Thornton, but people will notice how good Thornton is right away. Let's go to another player here that I'm going to throw out. It's Dalton Wagner, and yes, Wagner is on my 53-man roster video, but the reason why I want you to watch him is because him and Thayer Munford are going to be battling. Him and Munford are going to be going back and forth, and I really think that if he wants a shot to make it, he's got to clearly show this coaching staff that y'all better keep 9 offensive linemen because the Raiders are very confident in their top 8. Their top 8 linemen being the 2 rookies that they drafted, Jordan Meredith, Dylan Parham, Colton Miller, JPJ, Alex Kappa, and DJ Glaze. Another name that I'm going to go here, it's going to be a tight end, and I'm going to go with Carter Runyon, who is a really good athlete coming out of Townsend. Got some basketball background, 45 grabs, 502 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's a freak athlete, and he's still trying to learn the tight end position, which you can see. But what is one thing that I don't give a shit what anybody says? You love a good athlete, especially at this time of the offseason. And I've already had a few people being like, oh, this kind of reminds me of the Darren Waller story. He's not the athlete Waller is, I promise you that. But Runyon is somebody fun where if the Raiders go, you know what, I already got 2 solid guys in Brock and Michael Mayer. Let's try to see if we can find somebody in upside because no disrespect to Ian Thomas, he doesn't really have it. If Runyon can show that he can run routes and he can be a reliable catching target between tight end and wide receiver, he's got a shot to make this team. Before we get into more players to watch here at Raiders Mandatory Minicamp, Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. Whoever is the whoever is the June MVP, bang, MVP, you're going to get a spot to get in. If you want to join our raffle, it is a $5 super thanks or a super chat. Winner is going to be announced live on June 30th. So I wanted to give some opportunities for people who also, can't super chat, who can't send in the super thanks. If you're watching live, we will give away free entries. So just hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's keep it moving here. I'm going to go with Andre Carter, somebody who's a very hard competitor, somebody who was added to this team a little bit later last season, and him and Charles Snowden are really going to be competing, so watch out for him. Jah Joyner, a UDFA. He was my top graded UDFA when the Raiders brought him in after the draft. I had a 5th-round grade on him, and because I had a 5th-round grade on him, and because there are some question marks around Charles Snowden, because there are question marks even, around anybody not named Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, there's question marks around Tyree Wilson. If Joyner can go out there and he can show that he can be reliable, that's going to be huge, huge, huge for this team. Zach Carter, another defensive tackle that played okay, I would say, in spurts last season for Las Vegas. 22 tackles, a sack and a half. If the Silver and Black are concerned, which they are concerned, obviously, about Christian Wilkins, and we got to keep an extra defensive tackle to keep 7, Zach Carter would be my guess that be the player that they would keep. Though, they do also like Tank Booker because he's gigantic. Jalin Walker, UDFA, also been, honestly, eye-popping a little bit. Him and Matt Jones have been kind of going back and forth, I would say, as the top 2 UDFA linebackers to watch, but it's also what Walker can do in the coverage game, right? Like, we need somebody that can cover, and Walker at least adds that versatility. He also gives you a little bit of special teams juice. Jaylon Smith, 29 years old, showed that he deserved a spot at Raiders rookie minicamp, earned that gig. He has that C on his chest. He is a very well-liked guy in a locker room. It's just you're not going to get special teams value out of him. So if they start using him at special teams, that's going to be the number one thing that I look at of, okay, he might actually make this team. Michael Barrett, another guy here, Michigan dude. If you're not watching Michigan players for the Raiders, then I feel like you're kind of living under a rock a little bit, and I say that because of what this team believes in. And you're looking at the most winningest player in Michigan football history. If you don't think that stat matters to John Spytek, Michigan grad, Tom Brady, Michigan grad, if you don't even think the hell it means to Pete Carroll, a guy who all he does is preach compete, then I think that, again, you're kind of missing yourself here a little bit. I would say that Barrett's probably going to be a little bit more of a fit to be on our special teams practice squad overall, but he is somebody to just watch. He is somebody to consider because the Raiders do like him. They brought him in for a reason. Let's go to the cornerback position here. Mello Dotson, another UDFA out of Kansas, and when you talk about players that go out there and give 110%, I don't know if there's another corner that's going out there and trying as hard as what Dotson is going out there and he's doing based on some of the things that I've heard. He just doesn't have nearly the amount of athletic ability. If he can go out there and make some key plays, though, during these 11-on-11s, again, he's the leader at Kansas. Most defensive touchdowns made. This team wants to try to take care of the football, but they also want to try to take it away. So it'll be kind of fun to watch that Patrick Graham, Chip Kelly battle. And then the final player I'm going to talk about here is Greedy Vance Jr. Because of the amount of question marks around nickel with Darnay Holmes, Vance was somebody that was on Pete Carroll's radar. And again, the USC ties. I know Pete's not there, but he does have a lot of USC ties. So for Greedy Vance, if he can show that he can play in the nickel and he can play in a versatile role, he'll have a shot to make this 53-man roster, no doubt about it. So before I get on out here, appreciate everyone who watched all the shows this entire week. Huge shout out to Jeremy Chuggs as well for covering everything. If any breaking news happens at this time, obviously I do not know. But if you missed any of the pictures, any of the videos from this past week from my wedding, go check them out. Give me a follow on Instagram at Mitchell Renz 365. Luckily, though, for you all, I'll be back tomorrow live here on Tuesday, June 10th.